And now, you're tuned into Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
Oh yeah, listen to that theme song. You know what time it is if you're a USF fan. It's our first episode of RBLR Bulls, where we're covering just all USF exclusive stuff, all USF content. And we've got a new member of the RBLR crew. If y'all are, coming back and thinking, who the heck is this guy in the middle with his awesome Rays stuff back there? Jonathan Shields. Jonathan, if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell the crowd a little bit about yourself. I don't know. Just come up with a bio on the spot. I know I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, like Carter said, I'm Jonathan Shields. I was born and raised in the Tampa area. I cover the Rays for Locked On Sports. I do their postcast after every single Rays game. I host a Daily Bucks podcast with the Believe podcast network over there. So, yeah, we've just been around the area for a while. I worked with the Utah Jazz and Utah Hockey Club this year in their broadcast department as well. So, yeah, just one of those, just like Carter and everyone else affiliated with this, just love sports, love all things kind of Tampa Bay area, and, just happy to be a part of this.
Heck yeah. So if I remember correctly, though, which is the perfect week to bring this up, you're a UF guy, though, right? Not a USF guy necessarily.
I was born and raised going to Florida games. My dad was a Bull Gator. I am a Gator, but growing up in the Tampa Bay area, I've always been very interested in USF, obviously. And when I started growing, like when I really started getting into football, that's when the last time USF was, really good. So,
right.
Yeah. So obviously growing interest in there, and, it's never, a first team, second team kind of thing. It's always like, I always root for the teams in the area besides UCF, to be completely honest.
Yeah. Screw the
Nights. And Miami and Florida State also.
Right. Yeah.
Mostly UF and USF.
Yeah, hey, it's all good. It's all good. That's the main combo. That's the main combo. I feel you. And then we got Musab Tariq. He's our Bucks guy. He's on me. He's on the same show as I am with the Bucks all the time. Y'all know Musab, but say hello, Musab. How you doing tonight?
Doing well. What a perfect time to to be starting this.
That's right.
New journey, but no, man. I'm just excited, and I'm just stoked to see, first of all, where we take this, but as well as where does USF take us this year?
That's right. Yeah, I mean, that's in all avenues, by the way, just in case I didn't do a good enough job explaining what this is. We're going to be covering all sports, USF related. This episode is going to be pretty football focused, though, because, in case you're living under a rock, big football stuff this past week. But we'll definitely talk about some basketball, as well as their baseball team, which is pretty good. And any other sports that pop up. I know their soccer team has been playing pretty well. Maybe some track and field stuff. I know that their track and field team was, I think, ranked in the top 25 or something.
Really they I believe NCAA champions in the 4x1 or 4x4.
Yeah. They've got amazing athletics across the board. It's not just football and basketball. Those will be the two sort of main sports that we talk about for this semester, if you will. Sorry, I'm in work speak. I work in college textbook sales, but yeah. So we'll be talking about all USF sports, but specifically, right, for this episode, we'll be talking about football, and we'll get right into it because we've kind of beaten around the bush here. Big time win, Boise State, ranked team. First time since 2019. It's been 6 years since USF has had victory versus a top 25 ranked opponent. Boise State was a playoff team last year. Obviously, Ashton Jeanty, big part of that success, and he is now a Las Vegas Raider. He's moved on to the NFL, but they still had a lot of returning starters, and they were a pretty darn good team on paper. So a 34-7 win for USF, that's pretty huge. I kind of compared this in my mind, at least. I don't know about y'all. This is a while ago, but almost 2 decades to be precise. They beat Auburn in the beginning of the season, and I thought that was just one of the craziest victories I'll ever see as a USF fan, and it was awesome. I was kind of young, like 6 or 7 years old, not to age myself, but it was still crazy. And how does this compare to other wins in USF history, Jonathan? I'll start with you, man, compared to Auburn, the Auburn game, or any other big-time victories for USF.
That's a great point because recently it's been, USF almost beat Bama.
Right.
It took Bama to the fourth quarter and almost won. Yeah. And the way the game started, and I listened to Alex Gordo's press conference, I think it was yesterday, or it might be Tuesday. It was Tuesday whenever you guys were watching this listening to this. And he was saying that, the offense got off to a slow start. He was saying that kind of Boise did some stuff schematically that they thought was a little bit different. they were a little bit too hard headed in that first quarter, and after the first quarter, they just completely turned it on, and it kind of showed what I thought the ceiling of this team can be. When listening to other wins is tricky because, like you said, Boise was a playoff team last year. They weren't just a playoff team; they had a bye because of the stupid way the playoff system works. So doing it by that system is their biggest win in 6 years since their last ranked win. But I thought the domination in which they won with, specifically defensively, which was not a strong suit last year for them, was the most impressive for me. And that's why this win for USF feels a little bit different than a few of the wins in years past.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was a big factor for me too. Like, I figured Byron Brown and this offense, high tempo, just a gas pedal to the floor type of offense that they run. I figured that they'd probably take Boise State a little bit aback. So I figured it'd be maybe a little bit more high scoring than people were expecting. But yeah, the defense getting all locked down. I mean, that was really impressive. Musab, what were your thoughts on this game overall compared to, previous USF wins against big time opponents?
Oof. Well, I'll tell you this. I know USF has had a couple of pretty big time wins against some schools in the past. I know, I remember when I first fell in love with Quentin Flowers, it was, I think he took down Texas Tech in the Birmingham Bowl.
Oh yeah.
So, but I mean, I got to say, the Auburn win, I didn't realize how iconic it was until, later on finding out, how successful USF was throughout that whole season, eventually reaching number 2. But this was a huge game just after kind of the ups and downs we've had. Even last year, things were just looking off. So to come out, and I mean, we came out swinging. This was not the USF got lucky game. This was oh wow, USF is embarrassing Boise State. This is not the Boise State we know about, from last year. So, no, defense showed out big time, of course. And then, even offense. I mean, we had a couple of pretty iconic plays. So, yeah, it was a memorable game for sure, man, especially being that it was week 1. I mean, to start out like that, that's big.
Right. Absolutely. And speaking of those big plays, I mean, there were a lot of them, like you said. I mean, I think for me, the biggest sort of play that it was USF might be doing this, I think was definitely the fake punt for the touchdown to Keyshawn Singleton from the backup quarterback, the freshman. I think he's from St. Augustine, Lachlan Hewlett. I don't mean to mispronounce his name. But yeah, that was fantastic. That was so much fun. I don't know about y'all, but I was really confused as to how Boise State could let that happen. I feel like as a special teams coach, you got to be paying attention to the punter, every possession, every punt, okay, that's the punter out there. We're good. No fake. I don't know. It was a brain fart of a massive degree for Boise State. But Musab, how about you, man? Did you have any other big plays that stood out for you? Because I know there were kind of a lot.
I'll probably say, honestly, just the way Byron Brown performed, I feel was just overall, just running over everyone. But I got to say, the one that got called back, unfortunately, that was my favorite Byron Brown play.
No, for sure.
Oh my gosh. I was like, holy crap. They can't take this guy down. I mean, he's not even he's not even some, Derrick Henry kind of size dude, but I mean, he's tough. You know what I'm saying? He just doesn't go down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, he's definitely big for a quarterback. An American Conference quarterback. Let me, he's
not like James Blackman or something.
Right. Exactly. He's definitely not DJ Lagway, who we'll get to eventually. Yeah. But, he's still a bigger dude for the level of competition that USF is going to be playing. So it was definitely really fun to see him just kind of say, screw it. Cause he was very elusive. He's always been a very fast quarterback, super mobile. But I don't know that I ever saw him really just lay the hit stick on guys. And that was really impressive. But Jonathan, how about you, man? Were there any, I know we mentioned the defense, were there any big plays on that side of the ball maybe that really made you raise your eyebrow?
I mean, I think the fumble recovery they got on the first drive, because Boise was kind of going down the field. And I think that's kind of an overlooked point when you go back, and I was like, wow, USF won 34-7. But through the first drive, I mean, Boise was kind of doing stuff at will. And then when we're talking about, things that stood out, when you watch Byron Brown go out and seek contact at the goal line, and when he could have just rushed, and he's like, no, I'm going to run over another one of Boise's people in the secondary. That was one of the ones you're like eye opening, like, wow, like we know what he did 2 years ago. He was hurt a lot of last year, and now you see him like this. And yeah, he didn't throw for a touchdown, but it's one of those plays when you watch the tape, it's like, wow, like that's it doesn't matter what conference you're in. It doesn't matter if you're the American. It doesn't matter if you're in the, an FCS conference. It doesn't matter if you're in the SEC. When you make plays like that, it's going to grab people's attention, especially when you're, what is he? He's 6'2", 6'3", 230. So, that's not, people aren't supposed to, especially quarterback. Now I won't say people, but quarterbacks especially aren't supposed to move like that. But yeah, but the defense entirely, just the way that they were hitting, it just looked different from last year. I feel like a lot of times last year, didn't have this type of intensity, right? This type of drive to the ball. Boise, and yes, they had Ashton Tenchi last year. Boise ran the ball 38 times for 120 yards. That's 3.2 yards per carry. That is great. If you told Alex Ghost before the game you're holding Boise to right around 3 yards a carry, he would have shaken your hand and been like, okay, we probably win. Yeah, right. They won and they blew them out for the most part. So yeah, I guess this is a question for you guys, and something that I've been grappling with is someone that follows the program. It's what's the ceiling for this team? What are the realistic expectations? Because is the expectation to go 1-1 versus Miami and Florida? Is that the expectation? Or when we saw the schedule coming out and I saw they had Boise, Florida, Miami, I'm like, if you win one of those games, you probably take that, because let's be honest, you're not going to go into Florida and Miami and win both those games. And then when you look at the American, like obviously Memphis has been really good for a really long time. Tulane's been really good for a really long time, but there's no reason why USF should not compete and be one of the three best teams in the American. So yeah, I guess that's my question for you guys. Like, what are the expectations for this team, and have those expectations changed?
That's a great question. I do think the expectations have gone from, hey, let's maybe make another bowl game. Let's maybe go to 7 or 8 wins this year, to, hey, we need to compete for the American Conference. Like, this is a really good team. I think that's sort of the elevated expectation. Like you mentioned, going 1-2 in this 3-game stretch is 2 thumbs up, like perfect. I would have taken that 12 times out of 10, no problem at all. No real expectation for them to beat Florida or Miami, frankly. Those are just, those are the blue chip teams. And the way that they sequence this is going to sound bad, but the fact that they won their first game first, and then they have to play Miami and Florida, it's kind of working against them a little bit, because now Florida and Miami, they're not going to be snuck up on. This isn't a trap game. They saw what USF did to Boise State. And the fact that it was such a dominant win, Florida and Miami, they're very well aware that USF is going to come in guns a-blazing. They've got the up-tempo offense and all that stuff. So they're not going to be caught off guard at all, unfortunately. So I don't necessarily see them winning these next 2 games, but I do think that 8 wins, 9 wins, competing for the American Conference, that should definitely be the goal, especially if Byron Brown manages to stay healthy this year. I know that's potentially a big if, knock on all the woods and all that stuff. But I think that's probably the ceiling or the expectation for this team now. And it certainly has elevated. But Musab, do you have any, maybe you're shooting even higher? Maybe you think they can beat Florida or Miami. What are your thoughts on USF's expectations?
Oh man, I'd probably say, as of right now, the expectation is for sure to lock up the, American Conference title. Other than Miami and Florida, I feel like, we should definitely be able to handle, the rest of the competition. But then again, it's not really just at you, Jonathan, but it's only been week 1. So only so much we've seen from any team, honestly. I don't know, maybe Navy's just, been up and down, had an up and down week 1, and now they just come out swinging, and now they're taking down every team. Who knows? But to have UF and Miami and having them back to back is definitely a challenge, of course, but it's definitely a good indicator as to where we really stand. In my opinion, I don't think Boise State, they've already dropped from the ranking. I don't think they're ever going to come close to top 25 the way they looked. But so that being said, I think the ceiling is just to lock in the American title, put up a good fight, at least against UF and Miami. That's going to be tough, though, especially going back to back. But, this is the only way to kind of really gain respect, if you want to play better teams, is to be able to hang with them. So I feel like, USF losing last year to Bama. I mean, obviously we all knew that it was coming, but I think everyone gives props to them for holding it down at least for 3 quarters
Right.
before it all went downhill. But yeah,
I think that it should be respected that they're scheduling these teams, and I think, and hopefully the way that the playoff committee has said it, and I'm not going on here saying USF's gonna make the playoff, but like if USF finishes 10-2, 9-3, for example, USF should be in the playoff over UNLV that goes 11-1 because they went out and had the marbles to go schedule Florida and Miami. Like it would be very easy for USF to go schedule FAMU, and Bethune-Cookman. I mean, it would be very easy for them to do that instead of playing Florida, Miami. But it's the type of competitor that Alex Goldish is, and is the reason why he's thought of so highly in about moving up eventually. And there's a reason why he's really able to pick what job he wants at the Power 5 level when it eventually comes to that. And it's something I find extremely admirable because they went into the Swamp 3 years ago and were a botched field goal away from tying the game at Florida. Now, that Florida team didn't turn out to be very good, obviously, but it doesn't matter. To be frank, like when USF and Florida play, it should never be entirely competitive. Yeah. It's just the way that the budgets are different. NIL, they recruit differently. Florida had 3 5-star receivers coming. It's just different. But I think that the way that they have scheduled is something that is incredibly impressive, in my opinion, and should not be looked down upon. Like when we see the schedule and see Boise, Florida, Miami, it shouldn't be, oh man, that hopefully go 1-2. It should be, look at us going out and scheduling these games and not being afraid of, probably coming out of that with 2 losses at the best.
Yeah, 100%. And I hope, like you said, I would hope that the playoff committee, if USF manages to win their conference and do all that, I would hope that they would, I don't want to say dismiss the 2 losses versus UF and Miami, but they would at least put it in proper context. And when, like you said, comparing them to Mountain West Conference winner XYZ or whoever the heck else, like if USF manages to win their conference and they only lose like 1 other game, that's a pretty darn good season. And that's at least worth discussing whether or not they should let them in. If not, let them in, from the get-go. So yeah, I'm with you there. It's definitely going to be a conversation to be had. You know how the playoff committee is. They can be doing some weird stuff. So I don't want to give them too much credit, to be quite honest, but it'll definitely be interesting to see how that all plays out, especially if USF can manage to put together an American Conference title. But before we move on to the UF game, because I certainly want to, especially Jonathan, you're a big UF guy, so I'd love to hear your thoughts, but players of the game, I wanted to focus on still, give these guys their flowers. For me, it was definitely kind of a co-player of the game. I'm kind of copping out here. Mac Harris and Jalen Shuler, the 2 starting linebackers, just massive on the defensive side of the ball, obviously with the forced fumble that Jonathan brought up earlier. And Shuler won Walter Camp National FBS Defensive Player of the Week. That's pretty impressive. That's pretty cool. USF doesn't get honors like that all the time. But not to be outdone, Mac Harris had a great game too. But I wanted to hear y'all's thoughts. Musab, who's your player of the game from this past week?
It's got to go, Byron Brown, especially returning from that 2024 leg injury and to come out like that, swinging and, not being afraid to take a hit or 2 or to, truck a couple of guys. Amazing.
Yeah, it was a statement for him, for sure. Like, I'm sure a lot of people had a little bit of trepidations about how he was going to bounce back from such a seemingly major injury. Like, no one really kind of knew what was going on last year. Like, there was, is he going to play this week? It was constantly sort of a weird battle with Alex Golish and the injury report. It was just kind of a weird situation, but thankfully he looked just as good as he did that 2 years ago when he was up there with Jalen Daniels, putting up insane numbers. But Jonathan, how about you? Are you a Byron Brown player of the game guy as well?
No, I lean with you with Harrison and Shuler because of where this defense was last year. I mean, they like, yes, it is an accomplishment to some extent to hold Alabama close in Tuscaloosa going into the 4th quarter, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing that impressed me most about this team when you look up and down, at least at the top players from last game, is guys that are like homegrown guys from USF. Like Byron Brown is a homegrown guy. So is Harrison Shuler. So in an era of the transfer portal, now USF has their fair share of guys that they got in the portal, obviously, but at the mid-major level especially, and the way that these Power 5 teams, they could say, Schuler, you had X amount of tackles. You had 62 tackles last year. You had 97 2 years ago. That's a pretty good player. Hey, it's Deion Sanders of Colorado. How about you come play and we'll give you $250,000? You know what I mean? Or something like that. So once again, I'm going to hype Alex Goldish a lot this season, and especially any chance I get, because I think so highly of him as a coach. And that speaks to it. It speaks to the culture that they've built. So I'm kind of expanding on your player of the game question, because I thought it was important to highlight that the three best players on the field for USF were all homegrown guys. And then when you look at the guys that they got in the portal, it's still a lot of guys that are like their second, third year in the program that they might have gotten from the transfer portal 2 years ago. So, again, like they said, the USF has their fair share of guys that they got in the portal. So the way college sports is now. But it is extremely impressive at a school like USF that you're able to retain high quality talent in this regard without the NIL that the Power 4 schools have. So definitely want to shout that out, as well as really the entire defense for their performance.
Yeah, I mean, you look at obviously the cornerback room. Deshaun Rucker's technically a transfer from Tennessee, but he's been in the program a couple years now.
Year in the program, exactly.
Yeah. So it's a lot of different guys that, like you said, have either been in the program for a few years or have just been homegrown. You know, they were recruited out of high school or community college and whatnot. So it's been really impressive to see for sure. Even last year, like Naquan Wright, their running back, like he was
came from Florida.
Yeah, he came from Florida. That's right. He was a couple of years at the USF program, and then he, moved on. And I think he signed with the Colts. Shout out Naquan Wright. Hope he has a successful NFL career. But it's definitely speaking to something to look at their team and see that there's not just like, oh, well, this guy's here for a year and then he's done. It's definitely more of a group of guys that are sticking around and finding some success in this Alex Goldish system. Great shout for sure. And the defensive line, I think, like Mac Harris and Michael Williams, the two edge players, I think both of those guys, I believe, have been either with USF a few years now or their entire college career. So that's pretty cool as well. A lot of homegrown talent for sure. But moving on to the UF game, because there's another game this week. They don't stop coming. So I know we've kind of talked about it. Musab, we'll start with you, man. Do you think they have any chance against UF this weekend? Or are you kind of just like, hey, as long as it's not a total blowout, you're kind of happy? What are your thoughts on this upcoming game against the Gators?
Oof, this one's going to be real good, man. I think USF has the capability, of course. I believe actually right now the spread is -17.5, -18. So, I'm not a huge betting guy, so I'm not going to say, bet on the USF spread. But one thing, though, is we got to control the clock. You know what I'm saying? Because even against Boise, we didn't control the clock. We were still able to make things happen. But, this was something that, we were having issues with even last year. So first thing first is, we got to keep Lagway and company off the field, if we want to especially give our defensive guys the rest. But on top of that, just, limiting the run game, watching over on the turnovers, those kind of things. We just got to be playing smart. The way we played against Boise, I like that. We're going to have to, of course, go about a different approach because, this UF team is definitely going to be better than Boise for sure. So I think we have the capability. It's just, we come out and we just got to do what we can.
Yeah, it's going to be tough because like their identity offensively is so much like that turbo type of offense. But at the same time, like you said, giving DJ Lagway a bunch of time to come onto the field, that's not great. And UF's got just athletes on top of athletes on top of athletes. So like they're going to be in great shape. Like these aren't American Conference, you're not playing Rice or Charlotte where you can kind of push the tempo and tire the defense out and get them to make some silly mistakes. Like it's UF. They've got athletes. These guys are, D1 track athletes as well. They could be, so it's going to be tough. I don't know if Goldish changes his game plan at all, or maybe he looks at, like you said, controlling the clock a little bit more. That might be something for them to explore. But Jonathan, do you have any other ideas where USF could maybe hold an advantage against a team with just like 5-star, 4-star pretty much everywhere?
Advantage, no, to be honest. But can they be competitive on the line of scrimmage? That's the question. Is Brown going to be able to run like he did against Boise? Like probably not to an extent. But the biggest mismatches in these type of games when you go up to the power conference is the play on the line of scrimmage. I'll tell you right now, Florida has 4 guys on the defensive line that are going to get drafted eventually.
Yeah.
They have Caleb Banks, who didn't play last week because he's not an overly serious injury, but he's a projected like top 20 pick. They have the first team All-American at center coming back. Their left tackle, Austin Barber, is being mocked in first rounds. Like you said, this isn't Boise. This is legit. You're playing against NFL players. So if USF can be competitive on line of scrimmage, like, yes, this game. It's not this game might be competitive. This game will be competitive, and it will be a 4-quarter game. Skill positions are great, right? Everything starts with the line of scrimmage. Brown is not going to have time to do anything if he's getting blitzkrieged by George Gums and Jaden Woods and Caleb Banks and 3 steps into his drop. So that's the number one thing I'll be looking at. And, obviously I have been following Florida for a very long time. Florida's linebacker room, I think is the most underrated in the entire country. I think they have 4 NFL guys at linebacker and they rotate them. That's another difference between the power and mid-major level is that Florida is going to rotate guys, and they got 10 guys on their defensive line that they're going to play. They got 4 guys at linebacker that they're going to play. They have 3 guys in their cornerback room that they really trust, and they got 4 safeties that they trust. And they're going to rotate the guys. I said it because you speak to the up-tempo offense that Alex Goldish runs. And I think Florida, to an extent, is equipped to enable that or to guard that with their depth. But there is no coach in the country under no more pressure than Billy Napier. He has the guy at quarterback. You have the receivers. You return 4 of your 5 stars on the offensive line that have been not just 1 year, multi-year starters. You return Jaden Baugh at running back, who I don't know if you guys have seen this guy.
Yeah,
he's insane. He's 235 and that has wiggle. And he broke about every single lifting record at the University of Florida this offseason. He's an alien. Yeah. So it all that is great, but it becomes as simple as, can you block the man in front of you? Can the USF offense line hold up enough to give their playmakers time? Because USF is different from a lot of teams in the American, maybe outside of Tulane, that has these different kind of difference makers on the outside and at quarterback. And, we talked about the level of production for the defense. Can that translate? Obviously, it's not going to translate. They're not going to hold Florida to 7 points, but can they hold them under 30? I think that's a pretty big number if they can hold Florida under 30. So it all goes back. What are the expectations, right? Is the expectation for USF to win? Is it for them to keep it competitive? Are there people out there saying, "Oh, so week 1 Mirage are going to get, they're going to get killed"? Because you guys do NFL stuff, obviously. Every year in the NFL, there's people that are complete pretenders through the first 2 weeks. The Saints last year, and I said it when the Saints were lighting the NFL on fire, and Derek Carr was MVP after 2 weeks. Like, they're one of the worst teams in football. They're going to come back to earth, and it happened. So I'm not saying that's going to happen to USF. Like, I think USF has really promising pieces all over the field, specifically in their front 7 on defense. But it's an exaggerated way of saying if USF is competitive on the line of scrimmage, they will be competitive in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's tough because, like you said, like UF's got like 4 NFL starters, like Caleb Banks and then Tyreek Sapp and then all these other guys.
Yeah,
like,
I did all that without even mentioning Tyreek Sapp, who's probably the best player on the
he might be their best player on defense, and like that's not even a diss on the other guys. Tyreek Sapp's really freaking good. Like it's just it's bonkers. Line of scrimmage is always really, really important. I don't know if USF holds up or not in that area, but we'll see. I'd be curious to see how many more trick plays they have, because I know they pulled out the fake punt where they brought out the backup quarterback against Boise State. We talked about it already. I don't know if they can do any stuff like that again, or if they have any more kind of tricks up their sleeve. I know last year when they played Miami at Raymond James, they had like the weird onside kick where they kind of kicked it a little bit further than an onside kick and managed to almost recover it, but I think it was called back or something. But if they can pull some stuff out like that, maybe they can keep it close in the first half. But you always see it with these sort of mismatch games where the first half is like sort of competitive, and then the reality sets in and it's like, oh, okay, this is a boat race, and it's kind of tough. But Musab, are there any other areas that maybe USF could hold an advantage against a team like UF? I don't know.
Jonathan's kind of got me. Yeah, you kind of got me scared now, Jonathan. I am not going to lie. But, no, you have great points. No. These are all valid, great points. I agree with you. UF's a different animal. It's going to be different from Boise. I think the whole world should know that by now. But we're going to have to get a little bit creative, when it comes to, opening run lanes for Byron Brown, maybe doing some RPOs. Even on top of that, with the aggressive, D line and edge rushers that UF have, I don't know, getting even a little creative with the run game, doing some wheel routes or something. Yeah, but no, I don't think there's any room for any sorts of trick plays. I think that was more of a week one shenanigan. And I think it was
Right.
like, let's just see if we can actually get away with this kind of situation. But sheesh, yeah, to be honest, I'm more and more excited after everything Jonathan said. Yeah.
Yeah,
I will say there is Billy Napier, the Florida coach, has been known, and it happened 3 years ago in his first year, to not blow out teams like this. Like Florida played Charlotte and won like 21 to like it was like 21 to 10 in one of the games. You know what I mean? And Charlotte is like at the bottom of the American, to put it nicely. So there has been times in years past where Florida has not put the foot on the throat of these less talented teams. And I think this USF team is more talented. I know that this USF team is more talented than some of the teams that Florida struggled with in the past. Now, if Florida doesn't make the playoff this year, like Billy Napier not get fired, that's the type of pressure that he's under. That's the type of expectation at the University of Florida. But, University of Florida is also one of the 10 biggest brands in all of college football. So, I hope that a lot of the players relish the experience, because there's not many times where you get to go play in an atmosphere like the Swamp in front of 90,000 people and one of the 5 loudest places to play in all of the country. But I didn't want to sound all doom and gloom there. Like there is ways where USF stay in this game. And as a guy that's watched a lot of Florida football, I would be kind of surprised if this game isn't competitive at halftime, isn't competitive in third quarter, just based on what I've seen with Billy Napier's track record the past 3 years. And, I think Billy Napier is an all-time great human being, but there's stuff as a football coach that is left to be desired. And with a great coach like Alex Goldis that can take advantage of it, unlike a lot of teams at this level, I think it's going to be like, for example, Florida played Tulane in the bowl game last year without Tulane's starting quarterback.
Right. Yeah.
And that game was semi-competitive. Like Tulane couldn't move the ball at all because they were playing with like their third quarterback. But it was a guy that was actually already in the transfer portal. Speaking of the way that the college football is played, but that game was competitive. So yeah, I don't think this is going to be a 55-0 game. Like, I think Florida probably wins like 31-14 or 17, and somewhere in that range.
Man, if that happens, if they manage to keep it that close, I think USF's in good shape. That would be an ideal final score for me. I hear you, and it's definitely going to be fun. And either way, even if it's a blowout, because UF's got a lot of fun players. Even if it's a blowout, we'll still get to see UF players that are really, really good. I know we talked about Tyreek Sapp and Caleb Banks, but are there any other players that you're kind of thinking of that kind of scare you the most on this UF team for USF, or even if they're just like fun NFL prospects? Musab, I'll start with you, man. Is there anyone that kind of stands out for you on this UF team talent-wise?
Probably just, DJ Lagway. We got to find a way to slow him down, toy around with him, attack him, be aggressive. They got plenty of great weapons. That's the thing. But we're gonna have to go after DJ Lagway just because of his his capability of also running the ball as well. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think DJ. I don't think like DJ Lagway is the best quarterback they're going to face this season. I know. Oh man, how am I spacing on his name? The Miami Carson Beck. Yeah, I know Carson Beck's pretty good, but like DJ Lagway, he's like being talked about as like a first round pick, like bona fide, whenever he declares for the draft, and rightfully so. Like he's elite. His dual threat ability, almost second to none. Like definitely him, Lenora Sellers. Like it's a very short list of quarterbacks in college football right now that have that type of talent. So yeah, it's going to be tough. He's going to be like one of the most athletic players on the field most of the time. Even with UF having like elite athletes all over the place, like DJ Lagway's up there, like he's insane. So yeah, it's going to be tough to contain him for sure, especially if USF can't win that line of scrimmage battle that Jonathan was talking about. But Jonathan, is there anyone else that maybe we haven't mentioned? Maybe some skill position guys that UF has that you're really looking at, especially against USF?
Yeah, Vernell Brown III is a 5-star freshman that Florida had. You guys probably saw the crazy one-handed catch against Long Island. Dallas Wilson, he didn't play against Long Island, but he's Jeremiah Smith-esque in the type of production that he can have as a freshman. He has the same kind of build. He had a pretty, not severe, but he hasn't played in 3 weeks with a lower body injury. Trey Wilson is a guy that 2 years ago was a freshman All-American and caught over 60 balls, and he's back this year and healthy. So, the list goes on and on. Like Florida's got skill position galore, but watch out for Jaden Ball. If I was a USF fan, didn't know a lot about Florida, number 13 that's going to line up next to DJ Lagway is an alien. So, hopefully that he's not running for 60-yard gains every single time, but he is a unique player at just being a sophomore. He's built different. He's an NFL back that's playing in college. So he's one guy that if I'm Alex Gorsh, I'm circling in red marker saying this guy can't beat us. But that goes to you can't blitz DJ Lagway because DJ Lagway had a 70% completion percentage on deep balls last year. Like that's unheard of. So USF is going to have to, kind of bear the line of, okay, we need to sit back in coverage or else DJ Lagway to take the top off, but we're probably not going to get pressure with sending 4. And then, so that's another one of the things that I'm looking at. And then, containing number 13 in blue will be big as well, Jaden Baugh.
Yeah, I mean, people think of Caden Durham out of LSU as sort of the big SEC running back, and rightfully so. That guy's also a monster. But Baugh is definitely working his way up there for sure. And I don't know. Trey Wilson's also really, really freaking good too. Just really good players all over the place for UF. It's definitely going to be a really difficult game for USF, but hey, crazier things have happened, right? Appalachian State beat Michigan, not comparing USF to Appalachian State or anything, but crazier stuff has happened. So before we hop off and before we finish this episode, we'll toss out some predictions because why not? Just for fun. Jonathan, I knew you said 31-17. Are you sticking with that? Is that your?
Yeah, I'll do 34-14, but it's a 4-quarter game.
Gotcha.
It'll be a 4-quarter game.
Cool. I like that. 34-14. Musab, how about you? You got USF winning? Are you going bold, or are you gonna, be real a little bit more?
I'm hoping. I'm somewhat optimistic that USF's able to do something, but I do think that we're gonna lose. I got 38-24 UF.
All right, 38-24 UF. We're kind of all in the same range here. I'll probably do 31-10 UF. I think USF's offense gets, I don't want to say a reality check, but I think they kind of get hit in the mouth a little bit, especially with their offensive line. Not, Boise State had some good players on defense. Not trying to disrespect Boise State, but this is just a very different thing. And I think they get hit in the mouth a little bit. But UF, like Jonathan was saying, maybe they kind of ease up on the gas pedal a little bit because it's a Billy Napier team. And Billy Napier, shout out to him because he coached at Louisiana Lafayette. Raging Cajuns, go Cajuns. I'm from Louisiana, so shout out to them. But it should be a fun game, and we'll be back next week. Thank you all for tuning in and for listening. Definitely hit that like and subscribe button if you liked what you heard and you want to keep hearing USF stuff. You can also give us a follow at RBLR Sports or at RBLR Bulls. Definitely check us out on social medias. Thank you to my co-hosts, Jonathan Shields and Musab Tariq, for making my job incredibly easier. And we'll see y'all next week no matter what. But until then, go Bulls.
Go Bulls.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.